This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, are we ready? The Skurski man is ready to go. I love it. All right, Jay Skurski from the Buffalo News, ready to rock and roll. Let's see. The boys that own the they own the Dolphins, are coming to town. The man that owns the Dolphins are coming to town. And the man that's been covering the team that owns the Dolphins. Are you coming to town too, Jay?
I am coming to town. I'll be down there first thing tomorrow morning. Thursday night game. Sneaking out of here a little later than normal. It would have been nice to get down to Florida a day early, but responsibilities here. So I'll be landing early in the morning down in Fort Lauderdale.
Good for you. All right, man. So and then you're right back out on Friday?
Yeah, in and out. Usually I like to extend this trip a little bit if I can, but Thursday night
Buffalo
game.
News. Come on, Buffalo News. Spend a couple. Let the guy hang out in South Florida for the weekend. Go back on Sunday.
Yeah,
Come
hey,
on,
listen,
Jay.
say it louder, right? For the people in the back, the bosses in the back, right? Come on.
Come on. He works hard. He deserves a couple of days in the sun. Yeah. Yeah. No, man. So, all right. So that's good. At least you'll be down here. And obviously, this is, for the Bills, it's, hey, let's just continue what we've been doing. And for Josh, hey, this is my favorite team to play against. And then the narrative on this side, you know what I do like? I like that McDaniel doesn't really dodge it. It's like, hey, man, it's going to be there, and we got to do something about it. So it's interesting how the narratives are completely different from one end to the other.
Yeah, and listen, the games have been getting closer. The last 5 meetings between the Bills and Dolphins, I think, have been decided by one score. You go back before those 5, and the Bills were really taking it to them. And so I think if you're Miami, right, you're looking, and you guys can speak on this better than I can, but you're looking at this game as saying, all right, hey, we've been close. This is the hurdle that we need to overcome. I don't know how they look at this game any differently. I think, quite frankly, this game is bigger for the Dolphins than it is for the Bills. Right, exactly. And so, but listen, it's a big game for the Bills too. Based on their schedule here early in the year, this starts a really tough run for this team. They've got Jacksonville, they've got Baltimore, they've got a big game against Houston and Stephon Diggs coming up, and then they're on the road at New York. So the schedule in the beginning of the season for the Bills is not easy. And if you were able to get off to a 2-0 start, kick back this weekend, watch everyone else play, you're going to feel really, really good about this start to the season. Same thing for Miami. The team that wins this is going to really like their position after a couple of weeks. And so, as far as week 2 goes, this is a really intriguing, really important early season matchup.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. All right. So tell me about the hand injury for Josh Allen. How serious is it?
Well, it's serious. You wonder, for me, obviously it's his non-throwing hand, right? So he's going to be able to throw the ball. That's not a concern. But you wonder, is he going to be able to take snaps the same way under center? Is he going to be the biggest thing for me is he going to be effective as a runner? Are they going to try to curb some of that running? How wrapped is the hand going to be? We saw him wearing a glove in practice yesterday. What does that look like? And what kind of limitations does that put on him, particularly as a runner? Because we've seen so often, and including in week 1, he is dynamic running the football. It's really the Bills' cheat code. And we've seen probably against Miami more so than any other team. he's made guys look foolish at times running the football out in the open field. And so it's impossible.
Horse, bro.
Yeah,
he's a Clydesdale. It's impossible to bring that sumbitch down, bro.
Yeah, it's impossible to defend, quite frankly, in many ways. And so that, to me, is the big question. We don't know the answer. Allen has said he's fine. He practiced fully. The team is going to minimize it as much as they can. I don't think we're really going to know, though, until the game gets started and we see if he's doing Josh Allen type things or if they're trying to protect that hand a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what I do like is that once Brady took over, not that I like it for us, but for you guys and for Josh himself, once Brady took over from our boy from Miami, Dorsey, he and by the way, they did the same thing in Baltimore. they try, Lamar tried to be more of a pocket passer, and they like scrapped that, and he lost the weight. They went and added Derrick Henry, and they're like, let's get back to what we are. And Brady, I think, hey, let's get back to what Josh is. And we've had this conversation before about, well, should you run him? You put him at risk, this and that. You have to run him. You have no choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weapon that he has. It's who he is, just like Cam was. And if you don't use it, you make him actually not nearly as effective. And
I think at the beginning of last season, that was evident. You go back to the season opener last year against the Jets. Looked like there were a couple of opportunities at least that Allen could have run. He didn't. And I'll be totally honest with you. I've flip-flopped on this. I've gone back and forth. I've said they're running him too much. They've got to do a better job protecting him. And then you see they're 6-6 at the end of last year, and you go, you know what? He's Josh Allen. Just let him be Josh Allen. And if he gets hurt, nobody's rooting for it. Obviously, it'd be catastrophic for the Bills' season. You don't want to see it, but you've got to trust that a guy in his 7th year in the league knows how to protect himself as best as possible. And you just can't take that element away from him. It's too meaningful for the Bills' offense. He's too good at it, honestly, to take out of his game. And so at this point, I say run the guy as much as he wants to run. Let him do his thing. Josh Allen is at his best when he is out of the pocket. He's broke structure. He's making plays. He's making crazy throws. That's just who the guy is. And you have to hope at the end of those runs that he knows to protect himself, or he knows, hey, it's not worth fighting for an extra yard here. I've already got the first down. Step out of bounds. But don't curb the running because he's just too good at it.
If we take the run away from Cam, does he ever become an MVP? Does his team ever get to the Super Bowl? No, Of course not. Yeah. And so unfortunately, Lamar too it's the same thing. It's just different statures. But now Josh can take more punishment than Lamar, but that's the game. That's who they are, and you can't stop it. And so now Miami's got to prepare for even with a bad hand, and it's not the non-throwing hand for folks out there that may not know. Miami has to prepare for running Josh Allen, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, 20 rushing touchdowns in his last 20 games. That's an absurd total. And it's just, it shows what he is. I mean, he is their best goal line runner. He's their best short yardage runner. He is, I mean, he just, it's too much of a weapon. You've got to prepare for, if you're Miami, you know it all too well. You've seen it time and again. The guy's dynamic when he gets out into the open field, how he can make yardage, make guys miss. Maybe they just underestimate how athletic he is. And then he's tough. I mean, he's huge. He's not an easy guy to bring down. So yeah, that's something that Miami, I'm sure, is preparing for.
Of course, we're talking with Jay Skurski from the Buffalo News. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Jay Skurski. The Teron Johnson slot corner, he's out for this game. How big of a loss is that?
Well, particularly against this team, the Dolphins, and the speed that they possess, across the board offensively, it's big. I mean, Taron Johnson's one of the best slot corners in the NFL. He's paid like it. The Bills, up and down the roster, the coaching staff all say it. They believe he is the best nickel cornerback in the NFL. That, to me, might be the hardest position in the league to play, just because of where they put. You're lining up against some dynamic wide receivers in there. Yeah. And
you've got to, that's why you're a left or a right side corner, because you only excel usually on those sides, because habitually, kind of like right and left tackles, you have a strength of a movement to one way or another. Those slot guys, their hips have to be able to move left and right equally as fast, and you have to be equally as good moving to right to left.
Yeah, and the other thing about Taron Johnson that's very underrated is just how willing of a run stopper he is and tackler. I mean, the guy will stick his nose in there. He's oftentimes probably the smallest guy on the field, never plays like it. I mean, he just absolutely dog mentality when it comes to stopping the run. And so it's a big loss. There's no question about it. I will say that Cam Lewis, the player that replaced him in the lineup last week, he's been in this system with Buffalo for 6 years in varying roles. He's played safety. He's played slot corner. He's a special teams guy. Really, really good game in week one. I mean, excellent game. If you to put the film on and you would say, boy, that's a starter in the league. I think a lot needs to be, he deserves a lot of credit for stepping in the way that he did. It's not been an easy road for him. He's been a practice squad player, active roster player, actually went to school up here at the University of Buffalo. So it's a pretty good feel-good story. That being said, this is a step up in weight class for Cam Lewis going again, from the Cardinals, their wide receiver core, maybe one of the definitely in the bottom half in the NFL, I would say. Marvin Harrison Jr., maybe will change that, but he's still a rookie. Now you're going against maybe the best, right? Hill and Waddle, everybody knows, and we'll see who plays at running back, but they're obviously loaded there. And so, for Cam Lewis, this is going to be a big challenge. And I would expect that the Bills, tailor their game plan defensively to knowing that and trying to put Cam in situations where he's not maybe one-on-one against those receivers as much as possible.
Jay, can Jordan Poyer really make much of a difference?
No. Listen, I mean,
I'm not saying as a player.
Yeah.
I'm saying information.
I mean, he knows what the Bills do. I mean, no question. I mean, he could have coached the Bills defense last year, him and Micah Hyde. That's how well versed in Sean McDermott's scheme they were. So, tendencies, what the Bills like to run, what Josh Allen likes to do. Of course, Poyer knows that, but with the amount of turnover in this league and free agency and players going to different teams, coaches are used to this, right? They know that things are, that there's a chance that they're going up against the guy who used to be in their building pretty much weekly, right? And so while Poyer maybe has as much knowledge as any player in the league of the Bills defense, we should point out that the Bills do have a new first-year defensive coordinator in Bobby Babich, who's calling the plays. So Poyer doesn't know what Babich's tendencies are as a play caller because he hasn't been here for it. We don't know what Babich's tendencies are as a play caller because he's got all of one game of experience doing it. Now, Bobby Babich was Jordan Poyer's position coach. So no question, there's some familiarity there. I am sure that Poyer is talking to Tua about, some things, and it can be helpful in some regard. Do I think in any way, though, that it tips the scales in this game in a really meaningful way? I really don't. I just think that, guys change teams so often in this league that I think that coaching staffs are accustomed to accounting for that, if you will.
And there's a crap ton of plays.
Yeah.
So, and you run a ton of plays from one type of formation.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to decipher and get that information to your offense or defense, whether you're Mike White, whether you're Poyer, in time anyway, dude. Yeah. So you're going to have to be prepared way ahead of time for all the formations and all the options out of each of those formations and all that kind of stuff. So to me, I like how we in the media and fans like to make a big deal about this, but it really, in a game-like situation, it is almost near impossible for that information to really translate. Now, can it help you in a specific play? Hey, if you see this, guaranteed this is going to happen. Or yeah, that could happen, a nugget or something, and it could be the difference in a game. Okay, but are you really going to be able to call people's plays out and all that? Or are you going to really know everything going on? Like, I don't know, like Harbaugh did in Michigan? No. That's not going to be the case.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And I'll be interested to see. Obviously, the Bills know Poyer well too, right? I mean, it kind of goes both ways. Josh Allen knows he went up against Jordan Poyer a lot in practice. So you don't think that Josh Allen maybe has some tendencies on Jordan Poyer, maybe what his strengths are as a player, what his weaknesses are sure. As a player, and maybe where to attack him and maybe get him in a position. So this information exchange goes both ways.
Yeah, dude. And again, in a split second on the field within 35 seconds, and you only have it till what the headset cuts off at 16, 17 or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have 17 seconds. Bro, it's just not gonna happen, man. Yeah. It's just but it's fun. It's fun to talk about. Now, it could one play, one specific thing you're looking for, that definitely could come into play for Mike White, for Poyer, for any former player going up against their team. That definitely could be the case. All right, talk to me about the receivers that Miami is facing. The Keon Coleman kid had a nice opening. 4 for 51 is solid. Matt Collins, a former Dolphin, a guy I freaking love, by the way. I love Matt Collins, dude. I think he's one of the perfect locker room guys. He helps you out on special teams. He is clutch, tough guy as a receiver. all that stuff. I really like him. I think he's a perfect number 3, number 4 in any team and can be really, really productive. And then the Shakir kid. So talk to me about the receivers.
Yeah, so the off-season mantra up here, if you will, has been everybody eats, right? You've replaced Stephon Diggs. I guess I should say you haven't really replaced Stephon Diggs. You don't have a legitimate, true number 1 wide receiver. I think everybody can look at the Bills depth chart and sort of see that. But you do have a number of different sort of weapons, a variety of different players. We should mention Dalton Kincaid. I think if you look at the attention that the Cardinals paid to him last year, I mean, last week. I mean, there were times where he was 3 Cardinals were covering him. Sometimes 4 were around him. So Kincaid is a big part of this, whether that means, how much defenses are paying attention to him. He didn't get the ball a lot in the first game, but I think he's got that ability. Then you get to the receivers. The top 3 are Shakir, Coleman, and Curtis Samuel. I think, most people know Curtis Samuel now. He's kind of a, you might even see him get some carries, jet sweep action, that kind of player. Shakir, his contact balance is out of this world. I mean, if you saw the touchdown he scored last week against Arizona, last year in the playoff game against Pittsburgh, I mean, the guy just ping-pongs off of defenders, really hard to bring down, really good balance. Had a huge play in the regular season finale last year against Miami. If you remember that play, he kind of catches a short crosser and he gets the sideline and he is gone. And it's, 50-something yard gain. That play alone, I think of often when I think of Shakir, because to that point, I didn't realize that he had that type of speed. It's not Tyreek Hill speed, but it's game-changing speed. It's speed that you have to respect. And then, Coleman, you mentioned their first pick of the second round, the Bills' first pick of the draft. 4 for 51, I thought was a really promising start. I think there's more there in terms of kind of learning, the nuances of playing wide receiver in the NFL. But, you look at the production of rookie wide receivers throughout the league in week 1, and he was near the top of the list. And, most targeted, most catches on the team. So I think there's some things to build there. Again, much different philosophy, if you will, of building weapons. You look at the Dolphins and it's Hill and Waddle, and they've paid these guys $1 bazillion. The Bills are going kind of the opposite way, where we're going to spread the ball out a lot. And you mentioned Hollins, even as the 4th wide receiver, had a nice touchdown catch in the opener against Arizona. So, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling as the number 5 is kind of the deep threat. He had an opportunity in week 1. Allen overthrew the ball a little bit, but MVS did get open deep. They're going to play all 5 of those guys, and I wouldn't be surprised if all 5 of them have catches in this game. That's just sort of the philosophy of the Bills' offense this year.
Yeah, are you expecting a high-scoring game?
I mean, it's hard not to, right? I mean, the Bills definitely had some deficiencies on defense in the opener, particularly in the first half. I think they did make some really nice adjustments in the second half, but again, you're going up a level, you're going up a weight class here against Miami. Early in the year, in particular, I think Josh Allen and the Bills' offense know, hey, we've got to kind of carry the weight here for this team. While this defense with so many changes kind of finds its way, and I can't tell you that I watched every game of Week 1, but it's only one game. But Josh Allen, 4 touchdowns, two throwing, 2 on the ground. It's hard for me to say right now that there's a player that's better in the NFL, maybe taking Patrick Mahomes out of the equation.
Oh, yeah,
Allen is just that good. I mean, he is so darn good. He means so much to this team. And given the way that he's played against the Dolphins in his career, I wrote this in our predictions. I said, until Miami shows it, I'm not going to pick them to beat the Bills. They've got to actually go do it.
Why would you?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, what is he? 11-2 or something against?
He's 11-2, and the 2 losses are right there. I mean, they're Charles Clay drop in the end zone when Allen's a rookie, and then a couple years ago, it's about 150 degrees on the Bills sideline. They're dropping like flies, and they get right to the goal line, and they're not able to punch it in. So, I mean, he's legitimately 2 plays away from being undefeated against Miami in his career.
By the way, I still, every time anybody mentions Charles Clay, all I can think of is his agent and me at the combine around 2 a.m, and I'm pissing him off Because he goes, "What do you think about Charles Clay?" And I go, "Bro," and he was on the Dolphins at that time. And I go, "He plays small, man." And he goes, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Yeah, he's fast and he gets separation, he'll catch, but he doesn't play up in the air."
Yeah.
And oh no, he can do that. I go, well, he doesn't. I'm sorry, bro. And Harold was pissed at me for the rest of the night. And I was like, man, you asked me, bro. What do you want me to tell you? I like the guy. He did have speed qualities to him, and that kind of. He didn't have great hands either, if I remember correctly. Right? It wasn't. They weren't super good, and he definitely did not play up in the air.
No, yeah, and that's probably the play. I think honestly, most Bills fans, if they think about Charles Clay, they might remember that one because Allen, he put his Superman cape on in that game, and he's a rookie, he's figuring it out, and he goes down to Miami and he just does just about everything to win that game, and he makes the throw. Was not a great throw. It was a ball that it's probably 50-50 to blame. Allen should have thrown it a little further. Clay he got both hands on it, probably still should have made the catch. But yeah, I think that play
he's not
comes
that
up
guy
often,
for that. He's not Kincaid. Yeah. The 50-50 ball is 80-20 for him.
Sure. Yeah.
You understand?
I mean,
it's like when we used to have a Rondé Gadsden here, it was just throw it up, and it didn't matter who was covering him. You weren't going to beat him in the jump ball because he had hands like they were banana bundles. You ever shook hands with Rondé Gadsden? Like your hand disappears because the fingers are this long, and you wonder why he never dropped anything or he caught crap with one hand. It says, "Yo, bro, you're like E.T. and shit." You know what I'm saying? and those kind of, and Clay was just not that guy. He just couldn't fight for the ball. I mean, you didn't want to throw it up in the air for him. That just wasn't his game, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So,
and Kincaid is, he's got great hands. That certainly is one of his strengths, and I would not be surprised at all to see them want to get Kincaid sort of involved here.
They have two tight ends, right?
Yeah, Knox is a really good. I mean, they paid him. Red zone threat. He's become kind of the one of the targets down in the red zone because of his size, and he's traditionally been pretty good down in that area of the field.
And dude, tight ends. This is why I think actually Tua is going to have his best year ever. You didn't see enough of it this week, but all throughout training camp in the preseason, they're going to throw more to the backs and they're going to throw to Jonnu. And maybe I think they'll throw in this game a lot more to Jonnu. And what they're going to do for Tua that they hadn't done the first 2 years is the easy pass is going to be there more. You got to throw more to your backs and your tight ends because those are higher percentage passes. And they didn't throw enough to their backs, and they certainly didn't even use the tight end pretty much the first 2 years. And as you know, everybody that comes off that Shanahan tree, all their offenses use the tight end except this one the first 2 years. Whereas the tight end, see, the Bills get it. Hey, man, let's invest in our tight ends because that is a high percentage pass, and that helps every quarterback in the history of the game.
Yeah, no question about it. And you're absolutely right. The Bills will run a lot of plays with Knox and Kincaid on the field at the same time. They like the versatility that gives them. They like the ability to run the ball out of those formations. James Cook, Miami kid, is coming off a Pro Bowl year and is a really good player for this Bills offense. I don't know that he gets maybe the run nationally just yet.
Because he's in Buffalo.
Yeah, that's probably it. But I mean, listen, he had 70 yards rushing, over 100 from scrimmage last week, and you look at the numbers that he put up last year. You really have to account for James Cook, and being able to have two tight ends on the field does give, I think, the Bills offense a lot of versatility.
A year or two of playoff runs for James Cook, and then he'll get all the recognition that that he deserves. But there's no doubt there's a guy that has manufactured his way into forcing you to respect him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he can hurt you. I mean, he's really good at that jump cut and picking up 5 or 6 yards as opposed to 2 or 3. One knock on him last year, rightfully so, was his hands. He struggled with some high profile drops, but he's a factor in the passing game too. So that's another, kind of going back to what we talked about before about how the Bills like to spread the ball around. It's not just the receivers and tight ends. They've got running backs that can catch it as well.
All right, my prediction is Finns are going to do it, baby. 29-26. They're going to survive. Yep. You say Bills win what?
I had it as 28-24 in the paper today. I do think, we're looking at a close game. I think we're looking at a fairly high scoring, over 50 points in the game. But it's hard for me to pick against Josh Allen against Miami. As I said earlier, I need to see it from the Dolphins. They've got to go out and do it. They've got to beat them.
You need to see it a few times.
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
Even once.
Yep.
And by the way, Tua said that himself in the press conference this week.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, this is going to be a thing for us until we start beating them more often. Yeah. Not just winning. Like he wasn't talking about just winning on Thursday, winning more often, because really it's not a rivalry.
Yeah.
I always laugh at Knicks fans. Hey, the rivalry. I'm like, bro, there ain't no rivalry. He trashed the freaking Knicks every time. Get the hell out of my face.
Yeah.
And this isn't a rivalry, dude.
Yeah.
This isn't a rivalry. When you're getting trashed every time and you lose every time, it's not a rivalry. Rivalries, you got to start winning your share, dude. And, got to start one day. We'll see.
Yeah.
Safe travels, my brother. Thank you for taking time as always. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. You got it. Thanks for having me.
You got it. There you go. Jay Skurski, the Buffalo News, Bills beat writer, always kind enough to join us on the program. And what's he going to do, dude? He has to pick the Bills. Everybody in Buffalo has to feel ultra confident every time they take on the Dolphins.
This is the